Good morning. What's up, guys? Hope you're all having a good trading day here thus far. We have an ATR of 23 here on the 5-minute chart, so let's get to work, baby. See what we can do. Javaz, good morning. How we doing? John, Giovanni Joe, good to see you. Kane, Brandon, Vinny, Tom, how we doing, guys? Good to see everybody. All right. Now, full range on the day. We're looking at about 130 points, so it's not half bad. Not the biggest range in the world. We can certainly work with that. Again, with an ATR here of 23, it is falling here on the 5, but I imagine we're probably going to see this pick back up a little bit. We've had 4 or 5 5-minute bars at lower volatility. Is that tremendous? No, not necessarily. But what I'm looking at right now, we have this look, of course. Clear little wedge. We'll keep an eye on that. But if the bears can take this lower and close it within reason outside of there, I'll take a stab to the short side, see if we can take out some stops down low. And it's easy to manage risk. That's the idea right now. ABB, Cass, Chris, how we doing, guys? Good to see everybody. 2 minutes, 15 seconds out. Niles, Eric, James, what's up, guys? Kevin, good to see you. All right, 90 seconds. Let's see what we get here. How are you guys doing this morning, by the way? You know, looking at the chart so far today, I was keeping an eye on it. It's kind of an interesting 5-minute chart if you're looking at the 5-minute. I mean, really, any chart. But the 5 in particular looks interesting. We have these tiny little doji closes, like you have this guy, followed up by these, followed up by this, followed up by this, followed up by this. I know some people are getting burned today. James, used code BIG. Couple of new evals yesterday. There you go. Monkeys break even for the day. All right, we got the rollover of this 5-minute bar coming here in 10 seconds. Closing right near the bottom of this wedge. Let's see what we get. I'm gonna want to see one more bar. So while we wait for that, let's look at the 2. Yeah, pretty much an equal look here on the 2. Let's see if the bears can attempt to push through. We'll keep an eye on this wick low if they can, right around 752. It's kind of the area to watch if the bears can make that happen. Got a few take profit trader tests with code BIG on Friday. Passed them today. Very good work. Now, if you took the, for take profit trader, you got to trade 5 days. So you're probably going to have to flip, unless you have some kind of special circumstance. You're probably going to have to flip for the next, well, 2 days. The way that I do that is I just flip 1 micro, just so it counts as a trading day at Take Profit Trader, up until you get 5 days. All right, we're about 3 minutes out here from the close of this 5-minute bar. Oh, geez, those bulls stepping back in. At least trying to. Bulls are trying to hold up that wedge. Now, again, these lines, the flat top is a little more of a tight region. That little setting support, the bottom of the wedge, it's just out there to kind of show you all what we're looking at. It's always a region. It's never an exact level. So keeping an eye on that. But if the bears can, in the next 2 minutes, 45 seconds, which is plenty of time, give us a nice low close near the low of the bar. We'll see if we can get short within reason. Do something logical. Structure a good trade. That's the goal. Damn straight, Javaz. Gonna get 3 take profit traders with code BIG. I'm a big fan of Take Profit Trader. Their payout structure is, I mean, it is my favorite. The money hits very, very fast. The payout structure is my favorite, that is. There's different use cases between, you know, obviously my top 2 are going to be Take Profit Trader and Apex. Apex is by far the best if you're trying to go big. And you can't beat the pass, the single day pass for the evals. All right, 90 seconds here. Let's see if we get a little trade we can put on, huh? Gaines, what's up, brother? Oh, man, we blew him? Well, the best deal right now is a take profit. We're waiting for Apex to drop another monster deal. Right now, they're at 50%. Which, you know, I've definitely bought accounts at 50. But it's not my favorite thing to do, but I've definitely done it more than once. That's right, Joe. We are waiting on Apex straight to funded. That should be hitting pretty damn soon. We don't have a date. I couldn't believe it, man. I couldn't believe it. When I was told that we're doing Apex straight to funded, I was like, damn. I honestly never expected that to really fit their model. But that's exciting. That's coming pretty soon here. All right. Inside close, big ol' wick on that last 5-minute bar, but the Bears are trying to break it downside through that wedge. So let's see if they can get some work done here. Come on, Bears, do something interesting. Give me a trade. 2 minute looks like it's flattening out. You can see it also on the 5 with that wick, kind of in the back half of this 5-minute bar. We got that wick. Now let's see if the Bears can take this down through, maybe close it up down here, in which case I would sell the rollover. Cheryl says if I can't pass my test account, you have 24 days for $1,500. Is that right? What's the best option? Just don't pay for the account. Maybe buy a new account at a lower price. Which firm are we talking about? Just, you know, painting with a broad brush, a month. The goal is to get funded and you know, the goal is to take payouts, right? So I have always looked at the math as I'm just gonna try to pass all my evals as quickly as I can. Now, granted, compared to taking 3 months to pass evals, do you end up passing a slightly lower percentage of evals when you try to pass them quickly? Yes. Yes, of course. Rather than trading 1 micro for 6 months to pass an eval, but the goal here is not to pass evals. The goal is to be in fundeds and be working on fundeds as often as possible. So, I get kind of aggressive in the test accounts and the evals. I'm not trading, you know, 10 minis on an Apex 50k eval, but I'm definitely trading 2 or 3 at least to start, and then sizing down into the finish line. Mental capital is very important here, and I'm not really looking to give that up to trade, you know, super tiny in an Apex eval for 8 months. But I'm also not going to gamble it on a news event. So I'm somewhere in the middle, but I definitely am more aggressive on the evals. All right, we're about 90 seconds out. Let's see. Can the Bears get it done? All right, ATR 22, 23-ish. All right, let's get ready to rock. We are 22 seconds out. 3 consecutive bear bodies. If the Bears can close this baby near the wick low, I will toss out a stop limit sell. Well, actually, let's see how they close this up here. Oof. I'll give that about 30 seconds since we're on the 5-minute chart, but understand on a 2-minute chart, that's about a 15-second setup. Okay, so giving it a little more time on the 5-minute, but still a very small amount of time compared to the total time in the bar. Right, just 10% of the full bar. And if we do not get a fill, which it's looking unlikely that we do, we'll pull it and move on. Pull it, no fill. It's all right, we'll go next bar. Alright, so let's get rid of this. I am still looking at this little flat. But as we develop, now I'm looking more at this kind of look. And, I mean, honestly, you could just draw this however the hell you want. Just draw however it makes sense. we're probably looking at a wedge, especially with the 20 EMA right there. But then we also have this little flat up here. So... You know, as far as probabilities, if we get rid of this guy, and let's pretend the 20 EMA, now listen carefully, because I know someone's gonna say something and miss something. If you pretend for a second that the 20 EMA is not there at all, and the flat top is not there at all, and you just look at this wedge, I mean, the probability here, you could get really nuanced with it and say, well, it's 52-48. I don't know. I'd call that 50-50. Now you start adding the 20 EMA in, you start adding this flat top in, and all of a sudden, I start thinking we're probably looking at more like 55-45 to the downside. Just because of a little extra hangups. Now, I'll still trade it upside if we see a nice break, consecutive bull bodies, and a reason to get long. But right now, I'm kind of more so looking for a reason to get short. But there has to be a reason. I can't just get short. There has to be a good reason to do so. So we're less than 2 minutes out from the rollover of this 5-minute bar. There you go, Bears. Wicking it back. The Bulls trying to backfill this wedge. You know they're probably going to try again. Let's see. The old doji close. A lot of people would call that a gravestone doji, but we're right in the bottom of the wedge. So we'll go next bar here. Let's pop over to the 2 and see what's up. And not much. A lot of inside closing going on over here. Back to the 5 for now. Let's see what we can get. There we go, Bulls. Make something happen here. All right, Bulls, I like to see that. Now, if they could hold this up here, I'd be interested in trying to fade that. We got a little bit of time before this bar closes. That's a sizable bull body on both the 2 and the 5. We got the 2-minute closing in 1:18. 5-minute is a minute behind that. Coming in for a test of that flat top here. Out of 5, do you still wait for closes or possible taps? I usually wait for closes in most cases. On reversion scalps, I'm more willing to take it intra-bar. On continuation stuff, I'm less interested doing it in the middle of a bar. But to say that you'll always see me wait for the close every single time would be, I think, short-sighted and a silly thing to say, because that's not necessarily true. Depends on the nuance of it. But yeah, most of the time you can bet that I'm waiting on a close. But this is a big old surprise, meaning volatility-wise, bull body. Which means if they can close this nice and high, all of a sudden I'm intrigued in terms of getting long. The problem comes in if you say, well, we're in a sideways trading range, but that bull body is very, very sizable. All right, 30 seconds out. Let's get rid of this guy. Let's get rid of this guy and this guy, because the bulls are trying to break this out of the wedge. Coming in this these couple of wicks, we're 15 seconds. Oh goodness, this bar is getting sizable. I'm going to go ahead and place a stop limit buy up here and give it 30 total seconds. And then what we'll do is we can use the full bar to manage risk as a protective stop. And hope that we don't backfill it all in one bar. But I gotta see it break the wick high, the signal bar for me to even get a fill. So we're still being picky, especially on a bar of this size. That is 30 seconds. Gotta pull it, no trade. No trade, we'll go next bar. Yeah, Carr, I get the mentality, wanting to fade that. It's not, it's not wrong. Something that I'd like to leave you guys with, please, so that the community can maybe fix this a little with each other. If somebody ever says something, you need to understand that in the absolute peak 5% of candles, the best probability you're going to get on futures is 70%. And the absolute worst that you're ever going to get is 30. Now that's on 5% of bars, you understand? On 95% of bars throughout the day, the absolute best probability you're going to get is 60, which means the absolute worst probability you're ever going to get is 40. You understand? So if you take a trade and you're like, you say in the chat, you're like, I just got long here. And someone replies, they're like, you fucking dumbass. I got short. Ha ha, fading your dumb. It's like 60-40, 95% of the time. It's bizarre. It's weird. It's very telling. if somebody acts that way, that they're relatively new. So fucking be nicer to each other. Because the probability is not as good as a lot of people tend to think it is. So, yes, Carr, when you say fade that bar, man, very reasonable, because also, I mentioned this before I even put that order out. We're looking at this. I mean, realistically, that's a range. That's just a really big bull body. So now you have to make a decision. So no trade there for me. We are less than 2 minutes out of the close on this 5-minute bar. Testing the 20 EMA on the 5-minute chart here. That 20 EMA is right about 783, 784. Yeah, correct. Correct. Now 60-40 is you have to understand, think of this in terms of the math. It's not exact, first of all, and it's also not the only way that it can work, because we're assuming 1-to-1 reward to risk. And a lot of times maybe it's in reality 53-47, but we'll never know. So we have to round it off. 50-50, 55-45, 60-40, 70-30. We're just rounding it off. What is it actually in that moment? We don't know. We're just going off of our experience, our discretion, our decision making, and our data. There's no like number somewhere, that Citadel has behind closed doors that says this is the exact probability. And if they do, it's their own interpretation of the probability. So they probably do have that, but it's just their own interpretation. It's not factual. By the way, close right there on the 20 EMA here on the 5. So we'll keep an eye on that right halfway, by the way. 50% retracement of that big bull body. So you might say, well, what if I put on a trade where I'm looking to get, I'm risking 100 points to make 2 ticks? Is it still 60-40? No, of course not. The numbers shift. But that doesn't mean you have edge on that trade. The numbers are just different because you're no longer looking at 1-to-1. We use 60-40, 70-30, 50-50, assuming 1-to-1 to make the concept easy to understand. Otherwise, we could sit here for an infinite amount of time and go through every scenario, which is not practical. So, if you're not thinking about trading statistically, you're lost. That's all this is. But the interesting thing is there's never any hard numbers, so we live in a fog. And we show up, we track our data, we do the best we can. And the more charts you look at, the better you get. But, to be fair, 60-40, 55-45, 65-35, 70-30, that is more than enough. You don't need any more than that to have a massive edge. Because I know a few people listening heard me say that. They're like, well, then what the hell are we here for? Why are we here 60-40? That sucks. Dude, 60-40? Are you kidding me? Have you seen the Vegas Strip? That was built on a 1 to less than 5, if you want to average all the games together, like a less than 5% edge. 60-40 on a coin flip is ridiculous. That's massive. A very good thing. All right, we're about 2.5 minutes out here from the close of this 5-minute bar. We're kind of sticking to that 20 EMA here on the 5, keeping an eye on that. pop over to the 2 and see what's going on. Yeah, I mean, the range of these 2-minute bars is increasing, which is good. It means volatility across the board is kind of coming back in a little bit. Obviously, you can see it on the 5 here as well. Nico, do you have any advice to go from break-even trader to profitable? I've been break-even for the past couple months, and I'm trying to figure out how to get to that next level. Yeah, if you're break-even, you're 80% of the way there. You're not 50% of the way there. You're 80% of the way there. I've said that for years, and that's the truth. It remains the truth. It will remain the truth. I think the quickest way to go if you're break-even to profitable is not get a little better. The quickest way to do it is remove the mistakes. Not even the small mistakes. Remove the bigger mistakes. Have you moved a stop loss that, looking back, you shouldn't have in the past month? Have you deleted a stop loss in the past month? There you go. There's your ticket. Stop doing that. Have you taken a profit early in the last month? Even if it turned out to be the right decision, it was still the wrong decision because you didn't follow your plan. Doesn't matter what the outcome was. What matters is, did you follow the plan that you are riding to get you to profitability? That's all that matters. If you do something and it works 2 out of 10 times, was it right? No, right? Just because you happen to land on one of the 2 options out of 10 that worked doesn't make it right. That's a fallacy. Get rid of the stupid little mistakes. Stop hitting out early because you're scared. Stop moving your stop to break even because you're scared if your plan doesn't tell you to do that. Stop moving stop losses lower because, oh, there's a new curl now that I can justify risking. Stop getting rid of the fucking stop loss if you're still doing that. That's crazy. If your plan doesn't tell you to add on a particular setup and you added last week on that particular setup, stop doing that. If your plan tells you to add on a particular setup and you didn't add this week because you were scared, you need to do it. You need to do the thing no matter how you feel. Whatever that thing might be, doesn't matter how you feel, do it. You scared to put the trade on? Oh, but the setup's here, you have to take it. That's also discipline, by the way. Discipline is not just hitting out when you're supposed to. Discipline is taking the setup when it's there, regardless of how you feel about it. Oh, but I'm going to play tennis this afternoon and I want to feel good while I'm doing it. Don't care, take the setup. Plan says take it, take it. Oh, but what if it's a loser? I don't want to be in a bad mood. That's a problem in and of itself. You take the trade, you accept the outcome, you go have fun. That's how you get to profitability from break even. It's removing the stupid shit. It's not adding anything new. Three minutes out. Let's see what we get here on this 5 minute. We're looking at the 5 minute chart currently. Let's go, Joe. Hit an uptake, Profit Trader. With code BIG, of course, for the best deal always. All right, we're about 2 minutes out. Come on, bulls, do something here. Big old surprise bull body and then nothing for 10 minutes. Yeah, on the 5, I put it at 10 as the period as well. So it looks back at the last 10 5-minute bars. That's for every chart that I run. If I'm gonna put the EMA on it, which is not many. Or I'm sorry, the ATR, which is all of them. For the EMA, I'm running a 20 EMA. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. All right, minute 15 out. Come on, Bulls. Right. I'd like to see the Bulls be able to break that. They've got about 40 seconds to do so. ATR here on the 5 is 23, which is not, it's not the worst. What is it actually on the 2? ATR on the 2 here is about 12. It's actually not below 10, which is fine. On Take Profit Trader, in order for the day to count, how much needs to be traded to count as a day in your eval? There's no minimum volume. Jimmy, there's no minimum volume. You can, if you want, and I've done this plenty of times, you can literally flip 1 micro for 2 seconds. 1 second, it doesn't matter. Just get a trade on the books. So if I'm like, well, I'm at the target and Take Profit Trader, I need two more days or 1 more day or 3 more days. I just go in, flip a micro. In the afternoon, oh shit, forgot to flip that take profit account or those 2 take profit accounts or whatever. Go in, flip them quick, done. Get something on the books, that's it. All right, here we go, Bulls. Finally getting some action going. Let's see what the Bulls can do here in the next few minutes. See if they can break out of this little channel, little trading range. Take Profit Trader, you got to trade 5 days. Which a lot of people is like, oh, that sucks. I don't know. It's really not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. So once you trade the 5 days and pass, then it's daily payouts. That's the difference. With Apex, you can pass in 1 day, but you got to trade for 8 days in the PA account to even be eligible for a payout. So, there's gives and takes. I love both of them, though. Apex and Take Profit. Both tremendous firms for, I think, kind of different reasons. Take Profit, again, you get the daily payouts. If you're trying to bootstrap going full-time, you need money coming in. You're not really waiting for payouts once you're in a pro account. But Apex, you can go 20 accounts, and you can really start beefing up the volume, which is obviously necessary and tremendous if you're trying to go big. All right, so we know that this range is there. We're about 2 minutes out from the close of this 5-minute bar. We know the range is there, but I'm going to get rid of it so that we don't become biased in any way. We're just looking at what we're looking at. There you go, Bulls. Minute 10 out. Good job, Bulls. Hold that right about there. Let's see if we can get a nice, decent close, and then I become very interested in punching long side. Now, how do you manage risk? Well, you could risk this whole curl. You could risk this curl. You could risk this curl. Or you could risk the signal bar. It depends. Are you looking for a 3-hour-long intraday swing? Maybe a 90-minute or so intraday swing? Rough numbers. Maybe, 40, 30-minute, 10-minute to an hour intraday swing? Or are you looking for more of a scalp? All right, we're about 20 seconds out. 3 consecutive bull bodies. Again, if the Bulls can close that near the high, I'm going to get the copy trader engaged, ready to rock. And I will get a stop limit buy out and ready to place. And we will place it there. Give that about 30 seconds to a minute. Again, this is a 5-minute chart, so we'll give that a little bit of time because that is a quality setup, at least for me. See if we can get a fill to the long side here. And we will. Now me, I'm going to risk the signal bar. Looking for somewhat of a scalp here. ATR here on the 5 is 21. There you go, Bulls. Decent job there, Bulls, but I would prefer if we could get maybe 3/4 of an ATR out of this scalp and get that reward to risk closer to 1-to-1. I'll let the Bulls do their thing here and see if we can get it. There you go, Bulls. Keep that pushing. All right, ATR is sitting at 22. There you go, Bulls. Let's see close to 3/4 of an ATR. There's half an ATR, but on this trade, I prefer to get a little more if we can. And willing to leave the risk on to try to do that. Well, let them do their thing. See if they can give us a harder push up toward 3/4 of an ATR. Because, you know, half an ATR on that kind of setup. Come on now. Stop, just gonna leave that stop beneath the signal bar, which is perfect placement for me. Here's the rollover of this 5-minute, by the way. Turned into a small, wicky little bare body. Kind of ugly, bulls. Come on now, clean that up. ATR sitting just below 21 here. Ooh, bulls, bulls. Oh, let's see if they take out that. They tested it hard. The low of that bull body, that was our signal bar. And what we get in the money at best? Yeah, we got about 11.5 points in the money at best. It wasn't enough. Let's see, bulls trying to step in and clean this up. Let's see if they can. I doubt it. All right, that'll cut us. That's a good trade. Let's move on. Bears trying to pull this baby back. We got 3.5 minutes left on this 5-minute bar. Yeah, let's see how the Bears close this baby up. We do have, by the way, the 20 EMA on the 5 down at 792, 793-ish. Do you enter just beyond the previous wick for some kind of confirmation? I always see a little pullback before going higher. Well, always, I think, is a bad word to use. That's a naughty word in the world of trading. No, I enter because it's a continuation setup for me. So stop limits are tremendous if you want the market going in your favor by the time you get filled. Now, on a bar like this, when you get a bigger bare body, if I were trying to get long, I would buy the rollover using a limit order. Because I don't need that. So, different kinds of orders for different entries. That's it. I mean, how many times have we seen me put out a stop limit buy or stop limit sell, for example, and then not get a fill? Happens a lot. That's the reason. All right, minute 25 out here on this 5-minute bar. And I got to tell you, I mean, it does actually have me a little interested if we see a clean close out of the Bears toward the low end of this bar to try to fade that move using a limit buy like we just talked about. So we'll see if we can get that. $60 seconds. right. So we're about 30 seconds out here. Now, if this bare body, see this big wick, if it can come back lower and close somewhere in this region, right ahead of the 20 EMA, but also, I mean, if you look, this to me looks like some kind of reasonable, you could draw this a number of ways, soft bull channel. I'm not going to leave those out because this is all range. But if the bears can close this down in this region in the next 10 seconds, which is probably not going to happen at this point, I would be looking to get long with with a limit buy, which we're not going to be able to do. Next bar here, 5 minutes out. So what we should do here is head back to the 2 and see what's going on over there. Well, here's the 2. All right, roll over here in 5 seconds. Inside close, let's head to the 5. Three minutes and some change out. All right, less than 2.5 minutes out here from the close of this 5. We're kind of in the middle of this little range now. It's starting to get a little bit weird, but let's see what we can work out, if we can structure something logical here. Okay, so we're still sitting on the 5. We're about a minute out here from the close of this bar. All right, well, we got about 15 seconds here until the close. I want to get ready just in case we see this take over this previous bar's wick high. It's not looking entirely likely. That's going to close meeting the previous bar's wick high, which to me shows a little bit of insecurity out of the bulls. They're not willing to buy that through. To land on the exact tick is less of a coincidence than I think a lot of people assume. So we'll go next bar here and see what we get. All right, well, here, let's look at the 1 minute. A little bit of an insecure bull body, very insecure bull body, inside close, inside close, inside close, insecure bear body, inside close. Go to the 2. Well, the strongest move we've had. These 3 were part of the bigger 5-minute bar, that big bull body we saw in the 5. This move here was the one that I got long on and it worked and then reversed. Put us in the money about 1R and then pulled back, which is okay. I was looking for a little more on that trade, didn't get it. So let's head back to the 5 here and just see, man. You know, volatility is going to have to pour back in at some point, baby. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later. All right, guys, tell you what, quick break. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Alright, welcome back. And this market is sideways, man. We're gonna find something, don't you worry about it. We are minute 45 out. Depending on how this bar closes up, I might actually have something to do here. Though I would need to see the bears take this a bit lower in order to bite the bullet on that. Okay. All right, we got about 18 seconds here. 15, let's see. Copy trader, engaged. 10 seconds. Let's see if the bears can take this a little bit lower. If they can, I'm gonna punch it to the long side, look for a scalp, but I need to see them take it lower. Not gonna do it. We'll go next bar here. Let's pop back and forth between the 1 and the 2 and the 5. And just see what we can get. If we can punch anything on the other time frames. All right, here's the 1 minute look. Starting to look a little more interesting than everything else. Here's the 2. Yeah, I mean, also looking somewhat intriguing. But if we could catch a setup on the 5, that's my ideal scenario. All right, about 3 minutes here. If the bears could take this lower and start making this look a little more legit, even a little bit deeper than that, I'd be open to trying to fade that little move because that makes my life easy to manage risk. I can manage it here. I mean, you could technically use this. If you wanted, you could use one of these. But it wouldn't be a swing. It would be more of a scalp mentality. So I'd keep it tight, probably use this. Bull's taking it back up for this flat. You guys see this? Didn't expect to see a test of that so soon. But here we are getting it. Yeah, so we've got the Apple event here at noon. About 12 minutes. So they're dropping to 17, huh? Expected to feature a slimmer phone. I don't know, man. I think they're already pretty slim, no? I mean, slimmer, I guess, is not a bad thing. I kind of like the way they are. But I guess slimmer is better for most people, right? I don't want it to be light. I like the iPhones that are heavier. They're metal. They have some weight. When it's light, it just feels like I'm going to break it. Roy, good to have you back. We are 10 seconds out here from the rollover of this 5-minute bar, and we are still respecting that little flat top. But, I mean, listen, I think the Apple event probably will cause some volatility, which is good. Which is good. The problem is if the volatility is highly unexpected. But if it can just beef up the already existing price action with maybe a little bit of bigger bars, a little more oomph, a little more urgency, that's a good thing for us. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think I like the bigger ones. I've always gone for the Pro Max. But there's definitely a huge market for the smaller phones, of course. You know what is a big thing on the iPhones, though? If you guys are thinking about it, maybe for a lot of you, maybe it wouldn't matter because you're not used to anything. But the refresh rate of the screen. Last year, I had got a second phone, and I was like, I don't need like the full Pro Max for this one. So I think I just got the regular Pro at first. I took it home, I got it unboxed, and I looked at it. I turned it on, and I was like, oh shit, this gives me a headache. I swiped 3 times, and I called back, and I was like, I can't, I need to go the other one. This has to be a Pro Max. I didn't realize that the Pros, I think this is the case, I think this is what happened, but I know it was a refresh rate problem. The Pro had half the refresh rate. It was like 60 versus 120 or something. Then the Pro Max. And it gives me a headache. Probably because I'm used to the higher refresh rate, but I was looking at it, I was like, I can't. This is weird. This is like wearing someone else's glasses, kind of weird. So if you're getting an iPhone, I do think it's worth popping for the higher refresh rate, whichever one you get. Minute 25 out. Let's see what this 5-minute bar brings. That event here starts in about 6 minutes. What would you do if you knew that Apple was going to reveal a new AI initiative that they've been developing to compete with Google, ChatGPT, etc.? Are you asking what I would do if I had inside information? I would do nothing. Whole bunch of money is not worth prison. But if they did release it, I would say, okay, is it better than the OpenAI products? Oh, no, not yet. Then I will go with the winner and use the OpenAI products. And if it is, I'll say, okay, OpenAI, try to keep up, and I would use the Apple AI. As far as what would I do in the stock? Well, if Apple remained out of play, unless it went in play, which is really hard for a stock like Apple with that ridiculous market cap to go in play, I'd probably do nothing. But if it did go in play, meaning tremendous volume and a huge, huge trend, I'd probably get off stream and go hit it. And scalp that thing for 4 hours. But that's unlikely with a stock like Apple. All right, we're testing that flat top, man. All right, Bulls trying something here. Less than 3 minutes left on this 5-minute bar. Let's see if the Bulls are able to actually put something together here, man. Yeah, you know, it's honestly, it's crazy to me that government officials seem to be, some of them seem to be, from the outside looking in, trading on what seems to be inside info. And they'll make like a couple $100,000. It's like, I don't know, man. Those cases can take years. That is not worth peace of mind. I mean, everybody who lived a life of any crime, whether it's straight up or white collar kind of crime, they always say, like, you know, they got the pound on the door at 5:30 a.m. and guns in their face. They're like, yep, knew that was coming for 3 years. Wasn't worth it. Not worth it. There's plenty of ways to make money that you don't have to worry. Like pressing buttons on the screen. All right, we got a minute 15 out. Yeah, we're looking at the 5 minute right now. All right, Apple event here starting at noon. So it should be starting right about now. Let's see. I mean, does Apple move the market? Does it move NASDAQ? Yeah, probably at least a little bit. All right, Bull's trying to break out of this little sideways trading range. We've been in this range for 45 minutes. Let's see if they can push out here. With any kind of confidence. We're about 3 minutes out here. Let's see if if the bulls can hold. Honestly, if they could break above this wick high and close, especially above this wick high, but it would need to be within reason. Then I'd be looking to see if we can structure some kind of long that makes logical sense. Meaning risk management, targets, etc. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not against trading during the Apple event. I've watched enough of these. And if the setup's there, I'm going to have to hit it. If it's not there, we'll hold off. I mean, man, I remember watching the event for like I think the iPhone X. Sitting there watching the market. I think it was the X. It was one of those. All right, here. We got about 30 seconds. If this bull body can close above, well, ideally this wick high, but especially this wick high, then with my copy trader engaged, I'll have to put on a stop limit buy and see if we can get a fill. And we'll risk what makes sense. We'll take that as it comes. Either the signal bar or this curl, we'll see. Stop limit buy is out. Let's see how the bulls close this up. Place that, give that about 30 seconds to a minute. That is a pretty decent setup, and see if we can get a fill. Let's get rid of that along the way. And we will get a fill. And I will go ahead and risk just the signal bar. I could risk this full curl, but if we take out that signal bar, we're kind of heading back into the trading range anyway. And at that point, just punch me out. We'll look to reposition. All right, see if the bulls can push that up through. Good close there out of the bulls. I like to see that. ATR here on the 5 is 16. There you go, bulls. Keep that pushing. There you go, bulls. ATR about 17. There we go. Bit more, bulls. Get a push. Bear's trying to step in here. See if they can. All right, so that put us at best a little better than 8 points in the money, maybe 8.5 points in the money. Looking for more out of the scalp, a little bit more. All right, bulls. Take it up through ATR 17. All right, now, bulls, let's see a little bit of backbone here. We have thus far seen about 8.5 points worth of backbone. It's not quite enough backbone. Decent close there out of the bulls. See if we can take it up through that wick high of that last bar there. HR down to about 15.5. Come on, bulls. Little bit more backbone here. There's better than half an ATR. We finally got that pop. You can see it was struggling. It was struggling right at 950 in the money. Whatever point that was on the chart. So we'll pull it there and look to position ourselves in the next trade. Let's move on. That is trade number 2 of the day. So the new AirPods, they have live translation, huh? I feel like we've already been talking about this for a while. Is that not already a thing? Yeah, it looks like this is new, huh? That's very cool. That is very cool. I think that's just a win for the world in general. Yeah, I mean, that's huge. That's one of those things where if you do business in any country, and maybe a lot of your customers do not speak your language, or you don't speak a lot of your customers' language, it almost becomes a necessity at that point, assuming this feature works well, to just run AirPods all the time. And that opens up a whole new world. I mean, to spend, what, $200, $300 on a pair of AirPods to be able to do at least more efficiently, maybe 25, 50% more business, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. It's a big deal. Even in, by the way, even in lower income countries, that's a no-brainer if you can swing it to start. That's crazy. All right, 47 seconds left here on this 5-minute bar. Bears are trying to wick this baby back. Let's see how this closes up. All right, here comes the rollover. And there is the rollover of this 5-minute bar, closing as a lot of people would call that maybe a gravestone doji, though the body is a little sizable to call it a doji. Big wick back out of the bears, saying nope to that bull push. See if the bulls can put something together here on this next 5-minute bar. 4 minutes out. All right, halfway through this 5-minute bar, bulls trying to put something together. Let's see if they can. By the way, high of day thus far is sitting right at about 50, well, 858 we'll call it. Right there, that's high of day. So we gotta keep an eye on that, man. Are there stops up there? You bet your ass there's some stops up there. Let's see if they can do something with those. Minute 53 out. Yes, this is NQ. All right, 25 seconds here. Big old wick back bar, similar to this last one. Let's see how this closes up, man. The old gravestone doji, back to back to back. Well, I guess back to back. All right, next bar here. Hey, let's pop around. What do you say? Here's the 1 minute look. That's actually starting to get a little interesting. We'll keep the 1 minute in our back pocket for now. There's the 2. Yeah, I mean, that one as well here. Back on the 5. Well, we've got about 1:40 left on this 5-minute bar. And we're looking dead in the face of the 3rd gravestone doji in a row. And the range is getting smaller, smaller. So let's see if somebody can clean this up here. Whichever direction at this point, I don't really care as long as we can structure something that makes sense. Man, if you guys haven't yet, hit like on the stream. Helps out tremendously, and I greatly appreciate you doing it. Takes half a second. "45 seconds out here. Come on, Bulls, do something. Put something together here. Something we can work with. High of day is where my cursor's at. High of the regular hours session, I should clarify. 30 seconds. 5-minute bar. Tom just started 4th take profit trader test using code BIG, baby. Let's go, brother. Get that passed. Get that passed. Get to the daily payouts. It's very nice. Well, Bulls are trying to put something together here. Struggling to do so, but they're trying, man. Stop on High Day. Yeah, I mean, High Day is right here. Well, I'm sorry, it's right there, essentially. With these really slow grinds into High of Day, the break tends to be a little calmer. So the stop hunting mentality changes a bit. It becomes a little bit less, to use the word, dramatic. So, you know, yeah, I mean, I'd like to. It's just, it's there, but it's slow. It's a grind. I prefer more aggressive tests into the stop hunt because the push through. Let me put it this way. You tend to get resolution more quickly, win or lose. And oftentimes with these grinds, it tends to kind of hover and then maybe pulls back before it tests and then comes up and hovers, turns into a flat top. And when you do get the break, it might be a couple of points on average, which is not tremendous, but we're about 3 minutes out from the close of this 5-minute bar, and High a Day is right where my cursor is at. Let's see here. Getting a test coming in. High a Day 857.75, 858 region. Yeah, ATR here on the 5-minute is 15. What are we looking at as far as ATR on the 2? 8.7. Below 10 on the 2. Alright, minute 50 out here. You guys see what I mean? When you get this High a Day sitting here with a really slow grind into it, the breaks, they tend to take longer and oftentimes form a flat top ahead of it. When they finally, you know, which is additional risk, opportunity cost. It's time that you're chewing up by being in that trade for what is on average a smaller break. Inevitably, maybe you get a break of 2 or, you know, 3, 4, 5 points. 2 points sometimes. Every once in a while, you will see a grind that teases that high so much that it pops through 15, 16 points, whatever. It's usually not the case, which changes the mentality of a stop hunt. "35 seconds here." "10 seconds till the Bears close this up. Likely to be an inside close. And that'll be an inside close. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Hey, use code BIG over at Take Profit Trader right now, 40% off, and you do not have to pay an activation fee if you use code BIG once you pass, which is tremendous because that activation fee is over $100. Use the code, you get 40% sliced off the top up front, and then you pay nothing when you pass, which is obviously great. Daily payouts over at Take Profit Trader. All right, guys. We're going to get more volatility tomorrow. We're going to see late last week to finish out the rest of this week. And volatility is going to be tremendous. We're going to take 17 trades a day. What do you say? All right, guys. Hey, subscribe to the channel if you're not. And I will see you tomorrow morning. Have a good afternoon.